I think we're live. All right. Hey, everyone. Chrissy here, Real World Witness. And today is a special day. I have my good friend, Dustin Gold, with me to join us today. Hey, Dustin.
Hey, how are you?
Thanks for coming on. We have so much to talk about. It's just crazy. First thing, I just want to mention really quickly the Light Warrior Network, which is Jason, Brian, and Jason Ramirez and Delphine. And anyway, Jason Brian has taken a hiatus, so to speak, from that channel, but it is going to still go. And so I don't know when that's going to be, but just stay tuned to all of our channels. And I will put the links in the description at the end of this broadcast. So just to let everyone know. All right. So the reason I had you on is because you're a wealth of knowledge as always. And I don't even know where to start. Where would you like to start? Because there's so many things going on that it's just insanity out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I used to be on top of everything because I had my podcast, the Dustin Gold Standard, and I was doing basically 3 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, and every one of those 3-hour shows was backed by hundreds of hours of research, and that was part of my problem, Chrissy. I set myself up for failure because my shows were so research packed that all of a sudden I was running out of time with when our son was born, and then finally I kind of pulled the plug on that in April or May because what I realized was that unless you're really integrated into the system, you have a very hard time growing. And I was going to try to launch on, YouTube and Rumble and other places. Yeah. I started doing the research. I'm like, there's no way they're ever going to allow my stuff to grow. And I had to do it to pay the bills as well. So if I couldn't make ad revenue and couldn't push people over to a subscription site, it wasn't going to work. But I stay on top of things now that interest me and relate to the things I'm trying to do in my life, and then with some of the business I'm doing. So I am on top of AI and how that's affecting various industries. I'm on top of other, entertainment related businesses. And then the last year we've been out looking at land in West Virginia. So I'm really on top of land search and everything that goes into trying to build your own homestead. So you can ask me anything you want. And if I can answer it, I will. And if I can't, well, then I'll click boom and I'll get the hell out of here.
We'll just cut it right now and bag the whole thing. Yeah. No, I guess let's start. Why don't I would like you to discuss your podcast briefly because you mentioned that, yes, when Dustin says that it is based on research, he means he sources every single piece of information. So do you want to describe what that is? And then at the end of the show, I will give that out. Your podcasts are still up, correct? So people can still go and listen?
Yeah, it's on Apple Podcasts, iHeartMedia, I think Spotify, pretty much everywhere it was being syndicated to. And it's the Dustin Gold Standard. There's about 168 episodes. Pretty much 95% of those are evergreen, meaning you can listen to them at any time, because I was really focused on dissecting the history, the present, and the future of the system that we find ourselves living under and where it's going to be in the future, not just from a political angle. I really didn't focus on politics. It had to do with what I call technocratic transhumanism. So the merger of technocracy, which is this sort of communism under a technocratic rule, under a technological rule, and then transhumanism, which really leads to what's called post-humanism, which is anti-humanism, no more humans. And so I focused on that, and we went all the way back and looked at various players in this, going back 100, 150 years ago, all the way through today, people like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and others, and then where this goes in the future. And I think I did a fairly good job of explaining what we're living under and why so many people feel disheartened, and whether you're into politics or whether you're into other issues surrounding that, you can never get to the answers because you really just don't understand what it is that's happening. And that's what I tried to do with my show. So everything I would discuss had to do with deep research into companies and the investors in the companies and the government agencies behind these companies with contracts, going all the way back to documents coming out of Columbia University almost 100 years ago with Technocracy Incorporated, which was really the first blueprint for what this technocratic system is. So that's what I say. A lot of it was not based on my opinion, but really based on the research, and then I would analyze that and try to put it in context for people with what's happening today. So many layers to it. I could never uncover it all. No one actually could, because it's a giant system. And unfortunately, 99% of people, including us, are actually feeding the system. We're all useful idiots in the system, whether we realize it or not, just by us streaming here and having a discussion, putting it on YouTube Live, feeding it into the system. We're actually helping train artificial intelligence. So unfortunately, they have us in a trap. And in my opinion, there's no actual way to escape the trap. And that was part of my issue, is that I had black pilled myself to the point of what I call the cyanide pill. And so to me, what I decided to do was go the route of trying to find acreage. We chose West Virginia for various reasons, but try to find acreage where we could build a mini farm. Now, at the same time, I'm completely aware of the fact that the government could start a Maui wildfire there. They could spray us from the sky. They could laser zap us from a satellite, and everything that we build over the next few years will be destroyed. But I'm also not at the point where I'm willing to totally, cyanide pill myself. To the point where you're just going to hide under your bed and cry and not do anything, because then what's the point of all this? I am aware that the government can do it, but I'm also very aware of I have to control the things that are within my control and let everything else go, whether that be to God or you just say, hey, this is it. I'm not going to try to scare myself into a position where I'm only ruled by fear, and then I'm not going to get anything done. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's the thing. The biggest thing, I think a lot of people, especially me late, I mean, like, I have just like, listen, there's nothing we can, at this point, we have no control over it. I mean, the only thing that we have control over is our reaction and our fear factor. So, yeah, like you said, we could just be in fear and just, freaked out to do anything, or just live your life the way that you want to live it. Like, I think a lot of it is changing your mindset, like you did. I mean, you were like hours, I mean, thousands of hours of, and trying to get this information cataloged, okay, to have like some kind of history, somebody that did that. That was extraordinary that you even did that. But then to understand and realize, listen, I can't really make a living on this. So I got to do what I got to do in order, now you have a little son who's just adorable. I can't believe he's walking. That was just crazy. I remember when he was born. It's hilarious. But yeah, so I think the main thing that we're trying to get across to a lot of people is, listen, I pray a lot. I've turned into a big prayer person in the sense of, I pray for protection. And I also pray, listen, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But we have to know, we have to not be in fear and just keep moving forward, in other words. So like with my book and things, I could just throw the towel in, which is what I sort of was saying this morning at 5 a.m. here, when I haven't slept at all all night. And I just feel like sometimes I just want to just screw the whole thing and give it all up. But you can't. You have to kind of stand strong in what your beliefs are too. And just muddle through it the best that you can and do. And one of the main things that I love is that, you're trying to create something that will be hopefully sustainable, even if it's for a short period of time, Yeah. And so what's the latest news as far as, okay, actually let's do this. Let's talk about a little bit about the Matrix and and how we have to try to start living 1 foot in and 1 foot out of it. Why don't we go there first?
Yeah, well, first, I just want to say on the thoughts you just put out there. And I've always been this way, even before I was aware of this system that we're forced to live under. The more that you know and understand about the system, and you accept that wherever it's going is inevitable. We don't have an organized resistance. There is no one who's going to stop it. I hate to break it to your audience, but whether it's Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Mike Pence, Chris Christie, Nikki Haley, or anyone else you think that's going to save you, it's not going to happen. I won't get into my thoughts on these individual characters, even if they were decent people and they were well-intentioned. You can't believe that the system is so powerful that they could steal an election from Donald Trump, pin all these charges on him, and then at the same time believe that he's going to overcome that and defeat them. You can't believe those two thoughts at the same time. So you have to accept that some of this is inevitable. And once you understand what the end goal of technocracy and transhumanism is, then you can start to make realistic decisions in your life, whether you're trying to start a business or whether you're trying to build a homestead or whether you're trying to live outside the system as much as possible. You can be realistic about these things. And so with my podcast, for instance, once I understood that I was not going to be able to grow it past a certain level, and that by doing a podcast in itself and counting on that for income, I was counting on the fact that the technocrats who control all of the platforms, who control everything down to your domain name that you're renting from them for your website, and then think that I'm going to be able to speak out against them, teach people about them, for the purpose of trying to teach people to escape the system, and think that they're not going to just cut off my ad revenue, stop me from processing credit cards or whatever else. If I got to the level that I wanted to be at, then I would be stupid. And whether it was this or something else, if I was creating a business plan for a food truck, a 5-year plan, and I put into my plan, okay, well, now we know they can lock you down and close your food truck. Is it a smart move for me to take the $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 I need out of my bank account to go start a food truck with the chances that a lockdown might happen and they could close my food truck? So there are things that you have to plan out to then make these realistic decisions. And there's a lot of stuff now over the last couple of years that I've thought about doing, and then I look into it and I go, you know what? That's not a very good business decision. That's not a very good life decision, because part of what's going to happen under technocracy, we're already seeing it, as Yuval Noah Harari, the king philosopher of the World Economic Forum, has said many times, humans are going to be pushed into a position in which they have to reinvent themselves literally every 24 hours. And we're seeing that now. I have a comedian, a voice artist, a celebrity impressionist. He's a award-winning 30-year veteran of the radio industry, major market radio host. And he was with iHeartMedia, Clear Channel, for roughly 30 years. Actually was making a lot of money in his 20s and 30s. And ever since then, it's been downhill. Now he's in his mid-50s. Clear Channel laid him off, and he was told by his radio agent he's been with for 20 years, who was also Ryan Seacrest's radio agent, and he said, hey, radio is dead. Terrestrial radio is dead. Move on with your life. Go sell cars or something like that. So I started work. So you have a guy who was once making over $1 million a year.
Right.
As a very funny radio guy, very talented, does hundreds of singing impressions and voice impressions, who now literally is sitting at home unemployed. So I took him, we did a whole rebrand with the understanding that it may turn to nothing. He wants to get into more voiceover work. I told him, well, this is 3 or 4 months ago. I said, we're up against AI. I don't know where it's going to be 3 or 4 months from now.
Right.
He wants to do live entertainment work. Well, I had done a lot of work in the corporate entertainment industry, LinkedIn or Microsoft is doing a Christmas party or an annual sales meeting. They bring in comedians to add some levity to the event. Well, I knew that industry was dying since COVID and when everything went virtual. So now the last week and a half, I've been really focused. We got all the marketing done, all the rebranding done. built a beautiful website, created new videos for him. And
Right.
now I'm on the phone making phone calls first to recording studios and video production companies trying to pitch him for voiceover work, saying, hey, look, he's 58, he's professional, he'll turn the job around quick. Well, a number of these companies are already telling me that they're using AI for voiceovers. A good friend of mine, former client of mine, he is the vice president of the Audiobook Publishers Association. He built up a very profitable audiobook narration business about 7 years ago when he turned 50. He realized kind of his acting career was over. He had to reinvent. He built this audiobook thing, won all these awards. I was texting him with the other day. He said, Dustin, to be honest with you, in the next year or two, AI voices are going to be so good, I'm probably going to be on OnlyFans selling myself because it's over. Now, this guy has had development deals with HBO. So you're looking at guys, they're not Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
But they were pretty high up in their profession. And what's happened also, as we're facing this whole AI nonsense, is it's always a psychological operation to trick us into destroying each other. So you will have what would be people that consider themselves on the right, if you're on social media, who hear this and they'll say, good, I'm glad all these Hollywood pedos are losing their jobs. Well, my friends that have been in this industry are not Hollywood pedos. All right. The 1% of people you're talking about that are Hollywood pedos are not the 99% of the entertainment industry, the people that went to college for and learned production and direction and writing and lighting and voiceover and acting and entertainment. These are like normal people who were little nerds in their high school theater class or like making videos that went out and created whole careers out of this, whose lives are now going to be destroyed as they are replaced by AI. And so I follow all these AI trends. I stay on top of all the platforms. There's 12 to 24 new AI platforms, all built off this main backbone, that are coming out every single day. So some of the video editing companies I've talked to, people that have built big creative agencies that have done commercials for Ford, Toyota, Nissan, sports teams, major companies, and some of these are $100,000, $300,000, $500,000 budget commercials. They're telling me now that because of Descript and other AI video platforms, that they aren't even getting work because they're having people make these crappy AI videos for $10 on Fiverr or Upwork or these other sort of freelance exchange platforms. And so you could sit there and go, oh, this is great. And you cheer it on. You've been tricked into cheering it on. You're cheering on the demise of humanity, because you think everyone who's in the entertainment industry is a pedo. Well, that's not the case. I mean, you can take the ones that we target and the big, but they're there actually because they are there for the purpose of getting you to cheer on the demise of millions upon millions upon millions of other humans. So all of a sudden, if all the secretaries, all the clerical workers are losing their jobs to AI, if all of a sudden all the truckers are losing their jobs or the Uber drivers because they're moving towards autonomous vehicles, which will be here on the roads. 1 to 2 years, truckers will be out of business. You're going to cheer that on. They'll just run some campaign. They'll get the left to cheer it on because they had all the Canadian truckers look, they were right wingers. So they're turning humans on each other to get us to cheer on the demise of each other as AI takes over. Look at defund the police. That's a total psychological operation. Defund the police, get the crazies to run around in the streets, raise the amount of money worth of stuff they could steal to $1,000 so they can run in stores and steal stuff. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, okay, the solution is we're going to start doing more AI facial recognition. And then you get conservatives who love policing to cheer on, yes, AI facial recognition. Yes, robots in the streets, because they just want law and order, but they don't realize they were trapped into the system. So this is why I say once you understand it and you could really dissect the problem, reaction, solution loop that's in everything, then you could make better decisions for yourself. For instance, me, it was like, listen, close down the podcast, cut your losses. You paid your bills for a few months while you were doing it. You didn't lose anything on it, and go find something that's going to last for the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years, because this isn't it. I'm actually in the process of getting myself out of the creative stuff altogether because in my opinion, 1 to 2 years, creative is gone. Now, people can sit there and tell me, well, AI doesn't produce as good logos as someone like me would, or AI isn't going to produce as good of websites or voiceovers. It doesn't matter. What's happening right now is the normalization process in which AI created content is flooding the internet. Look, you're up against AI written books, AI audiobooks, AI everything, to the point where all the human created stuff is pushed down. And then the new generation that comes up and the kids that are coming up are watching all this AI crap. It's lowering the IQ of the general public.
Right.
The point in which AI becomes the norm. And as my good friend, the narrator I brought up before, put it to me perfectly in our phone conversation, he said, Dustin, and this guy's 58, so he's been around. He said, I see creativity today, live performance, vocal work, singing, writing, is going to go the way of classical music and ballet. Within the next 3 to 5 years, only the wealthy who are nostalgic are going to be able to afford these kind of things, and there will only be a few people who are actually writing the old way or painting the old way, because everyone else had to get out because they couldn't afford to do it anymore. And he said, sadly, that's where I think human creativity goes. It's going to go into the dust bowl of dustbin of history very shortly, 3 to 5 years. And it will be a commodity at that point.
Well, people don't understand, and I keep saying, this is what I keep saying, all right? They talk about the quantum financial system, which is an AI-operated system. It's a new money system, and everybody is like, oh, well, that's going to be fantastic because it's going to be, backed by gold. And I mean, there's all these truthers out here, quote, I say, quote, truthers, because they're a bunch of, it's just paid opposition. All right. I'm sorry. Listen, I got sucked into I was listening to everybody. I mean, 2020, right? When we were thinking, oh, Trump's going to be back in. It's going to be great, blah, 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 that whole thing. And then that didn't happen. And ever since then, you've got, then they launched these people out here to say to us that, oh, well, no, everything's fantastic. There's a plan, it's going to be fine. We're going to be, there's a new quantum system coming, AI operated. AI is not good. This is what I want to get. AI replaces the human being, and that's the goal. What people don't understand is that these people, and when I say these people, I mean Bilderberg, the World Economic Forum, the WHO, all these people, Soros, Klaus Schwab, Noah, whatever the heck that guy's name. I can't.
Yuval Noah Harari.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, what they want to do, and what I've been saying to my other friend, I said this, I play devil advocate with her all the time, because I feel like what they're doing is, see, they're going to jack everything up, and then everybody's waiting for this big event to happen, okay? Is Jesus coming back? Yes. I mean, it's in the Bible. Is it now? I don't know. When will that happen? We don't know. We just have to prepare ourselves. That let's just say that, okay? But on the other hand, what they're doing is they're jacking up the prices. They're trying to claim that the resources are gone, that the planet, which there is a plenty of resources on this planet to sustain us for thousands of years. So that's a bunch of bullshit, all right? So what they're doing is, and what they're going to do, and what I've said before, is that let's just say there's an event and they turn everything off and then they turn everything on, and then we have this QFS system running the matrix, okay? What I think they're going to do is, I keep saying, and I've said this before, ration cards. People don't understand when I say a ration card. Ration cards, what are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about ration cards for your food. You can only buy certain things. It's not going to be like it was, where we just go in and it's plentiful. Okay, we're going to be like other third world countries where you can get as much as you can get, and that's it. And it's only if you agree to have the chip. The chip is a huge thing. It's the mark of the beast, which is what I believe. And it also makes you not human. when they messed with our mRNA, okay, with the vaccines and this and that, they want to, if you're not a human, then you have no inalienable rights. And that's what people don't understand. If you're not human, then you have no rights, and they can do whatever they want to you. They can give you a ration card. You'll have ration for food, for gas. I mean, do you think that you'll be able to, fill up your Winnebago and be able to leave for 3 weeks on vacation during the summer? No. Everybody, they're trying to right now. I mean, kind of push everybody back into the big cities, and it's very, very frustrating because, I on the one hand, I do believe there's going to be some kind of big event, and I do believe that God is going to come, or Jesus is going to come back. But it's not until we go through all this bullshit, and there's going to be a period of time where we're all going to just be handcuffed, basically, where we're not going to be able to do anything. So it's very, very frustrating to me to see the demise, because I look at my nephews and nieces and I go, holy crap. I mean, do we want them under this? I mean, my brothers are so, my one brother, he wants the augmented eyeglasses. I mean, it's like, dude, do you not understand what you're teaching your children? I mean, the whole thing, it's a night. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, how do you get people to understand? And the other issue is that, okay, so let's just say, if I say I'm not going to get a chip, I'm not doing that crap. And like, I don't know if you know this, they have been testing that in California already, where it's totally cashless. You have a chip in your palm of your hand or whatever, and that's what you use to buy and sell, right? So that's what they're doing, and they're doing it in different pockets across the country. They're already testing this cashless society out. When you have a non-cashless society, when you have a cashless society, they can just turn you off in a second. They just push a button and that's it. You're done. So what happens at that point? What do you do? And people are going to panic. People are not going to be in the frame of mind that they need to be. And that's where I believe the God factor comes in, when you have to have some kind of faith that, in my opinion, I feel like I just don't think God is going to allow his creation, which is our DNA, to be completely destroyed off the planet. I just don't see that happening. How that's going to happen, I have no idea. But the fact of the matter is that these people, they want an inhuman society that they can control. And I don't know if you watched that movie, Don't Look Up. Did you see that movie on Netflix?
No.
Okay. Well, it was fabulous. It just depicted everything moronic about the government. And basically, there was this asteroid that was going to hit Earth. And they had some guy with his little freaking phone. He was like a Steve Jobs guy, right? And he was just this little, and because he had billions of dollars, right? He was talking to the president, which was, guess who? Meryl Streep.
Oh, that was the movie. Yeah, that was that weird, like, at the end.
Yeah, it was
she got eaten by like a dinosaur alien.
Yeah, and he was like, well, everybody, if you just don't think that if you're not feeling good or you're feeling sad, you just hit the happy app. And look, everything's wonderful again, because that's how they're going to control you from being, you're not human anymore. And that's what they're doing with all of this stuff. And so it's really sad to see is this the end of humanity? Mm-hmm. I'm going to say, I'm praying that it's not.
Yes.
But I also feel like people are just oblivious to, look what they did in 2020, and they locked us down for two and a half fucking years. Here it was ridiculous. They just in the last 3 months finally dropped the mask mandate at the doctor's office in the 3 months. So, and then they're thinking of doing it again. So I don't know. It's frustrating. And so in order to get through it, you kind of have to just sort of, what I'm doing is I'm just in Kirsten Kelly land 24/7. Then, if you sit down and you think about this stuff, you'll be in the fetal position because you don't know what to do. So that's sort of, I don't know what you have to say about all of that.
Well, there was a lot there, but first, well, let me
You know
tell
how
you.
I talk.
I know you, and you do
I get
this,
on a roll.
and most other people do too. It's like, what's going on? No one will wake up. Okay, I said earlier you can only control what's within your control. Let me just tell you,
Right.
no one's waking up. There will be no waking up. No one will ever know all the stuff that's actually going on. There's no waking up. There's no resistance. There will never be a resistance. 95% of people will line up and get on the train and go to the gas chamber willingly, willingly. So thinking you're going to wake people up. I mean, I could walk in the grocery store here and 99% of people have no clue what's going on. They're never going
Hmm.
to know what's going on. They don't care what's going on. If they offer Elon Musk's Neuralink brain chip tomorrow, my prediction is 25% of people would show up at AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Apple,
Hmm.
Google to have it implanted in their head tomorrow. They would bring their children to do it too. 25% of people overnight. So you can't really worry about any of those people. I don't think about things in terms of this country or people in this country anymore. It's a global system. There is no country. There's no America. There's no such thing as America. It
Hmm.
doesn't exist. What does it mean? It's means nothing. The United States of America means absolutely nothing. We're not even the country, even if you don't know about technocracy and transhumanism. We are not the country of 1776. 1776, there
Yeah.
were 13 colonies, 2.5 million people. Only 500,000 actually voted, white landowning men. Okay, slaves weren't allowed to vote, women weren't allowed to vote. We're
Right.
not the same country. So people have to stop talking about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson unless you want to give up your voting rights and we go back to white landowning men voting. That would actually probably solve, or would have a long time ago, most of the problems. But that's not the case. So we can't even talk about it in those terms. You mentioned Trump, whether he's going to win, he's going to come back and save the planet. I'll give you my prediction. Donald Trump, possibly with Vivek Ramaswamy as the VP, are going to win in 2024. They're going to deliver central bank digital currency, universal basic income, 15-minute cities, and more technocracy. I believe that is actually the plan. Trump's going to be
Hmm.
clear to all the charges, just like Russiagate. Everyone got psyoped into it, and then he's going to bring the cashless society, the central bank digital currency system. Now, whether it's through a chip in your hand, a brain chip in your head, doesn't matter. Central bank digital currency is going to be here, totally 100% in place well before 2030, which is a big target year, obviously. So that is going to happen. I spent hundreds of hours researching all the tech companies, everything behind central bank digital currency, the infrastructure. Currently, there's 113 countries in some level of developing central bank digital currency. It's all being run through International Monetary Fund, Bank for International Settlements, World Bank. 100%, it's happening. You're not going to stop it. Nobody's going to stop it. So central bank digital currency is here. You could look at this company if you're interested, or go find my podcast on it. I did 5 or 6 on a company called Consensus.
Hmm.
Consensus is run by a guy named Joseph Lubin. Joseph Lubin was business partners with a guy named with a guy named Vitalik Buterin, and they created Ethereum. Think of it, if you're not into cryptocurrency, it's like a Bitcoin, right? But Ethereum
Hmm.
actually is the backbone that powers a lot of systems. Ethereum is the backbone that's behind a lot of the central bank digital currency. Well, Ethereum came from Peter Thiel, one of the most evil people, I believe, on the face of Earth. So Peter
Hmm.
Thiel helped create
Yeah.
Ethereum by backing Vitalik Buterin. So if you go look at Consensus, this is why I look at real companies, real tech companies. I look at who's behind them, what they're doing. They're working with the World Bank, IMF, BIS. It's all
Hmm.
being built out. It's already being tested here in the United States. There's no resistance. No one will stop it. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. It's going to be tied to a social credit system. If you go back to the 1930s and you look at Technocracy Incorporated, which really was the very beginning blueprints of this, it was being created out of Columbia University at the same time Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal was being created there. The New Deal brought the Social Security number, which tagged every American with a number. That was
Right.
part of technocracy and what they actually needed. They needed everybody in the back then like a Dewey Decimal System. They were
Hmm.
also utilizing IBM computers, which were used and tested over in Nazi Germany, to start to create this system that was here. So CBDC, central bank digital currency, ties right into what was created out of Technocracy Inc., which was called the energy certificate. And instead of money, everything was going to be weighed by how much energy it took to produce certain services or certain products. So if you want to go study that stuff, you can find my podcasts, and I think I link to all the different PDFs, from libraries and stuff. This is all real. And so energy certificates have become central bank digital currency. That'll be backed by like carbon credits. It's the same as the energy certificate. You talked about rationing. It's not like my wife, who's from Poland, until she was 9 years old, she grew up under Soviet communism in Poland. And so her parents would have to go to store with basically like food stamps, and you were only allowed to buy so much bread, so many potatoes, so much chicken. It will be like that, but it's all going to actually be digital. So central bank digital currency, if you look at the technology, forget about memes that you've seen, forget about little clips taken out of context on Twitter. Go look at this company Consensus, and that'll branch you off to all the companies developing it. It is programmable. Under this system, you are not allowed to build wealth because the money actually expires. You can't trade the money to other people. You can't gift it to other people. And so everything is tracked, and it will be all the way back to the raw materials. This way, you can't go magically get a hold of steel and start building Mad Max go-karts. It just won't happen because the whole system is actually tracked. And so when people will say to me, well, if they're going to, because one of the big things you're going to see happen is grocery stores and retail. I mean, you're already seeing them strategically close them. That will all be gone. Everything's going to be an Amazon model run by the government or through their puppets like Amazon, where everything gets delivered to your doorstep. And there will be no more retail. Well, people say, well, that would be a great opportunity for someone like Dustin to open a general store and go black market. Well, where am I going to get rice to sell? Where am I going to get flour to sell? You can't, because it's all turned off through the central bank digital currency system. Unfortunately, like I said, I've come to the realization that the majority of this stuff is inevitable. So I say to myself, well, where am I going to be in 7 years from now? How am I going to be able to work around some of this? I may not be able to. I mean, when you start going through the plans of building out a mini farm and a homestead, there's so much, from the water, from energy, from all these things that you're going to have to do to be able to power this farm. And again, the government could come through and just, crop dust you and kill all your crops. They could kill your animals. There's always ways to get around these, but do we have endless money to do it? If I had $10 million right now, I could build sort of an underground farm fortress and probably prepare to do this, but I don't have that. I'm working on the same budgets that everyone else has, which is slim to none. So that's just how I see it. I'm like, okay, knowing all this, how am I going to set myself up so that in 7 years from now, I can be able to operate somewhat outside of the system? I think what happens to most people, the ones you're talking about that are not awake, even the ones that are awake, you see gradually the stuff becomes normal, because even when you're aware of it, you talk about it so much to the point where it just becomes normal. Like if you said to somebody 5 or 10 years ago that we were going to normalize chopping off little boys' penises,
I know, right?
carving off little girls' breasts and trading parts with them and turning them into Frankenstein children, you would say to yourself, that's disgusting. That's never going to happen. Oh, that will be end times. Well, guess what? We're in it. We're in it. The other thing is when you sit there and you're like, when will Jesus return, or this kind of thing, end times, when is the rule of the Antichrist, all these, and there's different interpretations depending on, I had guests on my show talking about this. So it's even my pastor, it's like nobody really has the total answer to any of this. But how much more grotesque does it become that we're starting to implant uteruses inside of men? How much more grotesque does it become that we're talking about putting AI chips inside people's brains? You're like, okay, if we're not in end times, I don't know what this is, because I don't see how it gets any more crazy. And you sit here and you're like, But see, the problem is when you talk to people, it's now become normal. They just look at it as another social issue. Like, well, you know what? We lost the debate on abortion. Let them do it. Let them
Right.
cut their kids' wieners off. It's their kid. What are you going to do? And that's kind of where we are right now. Biblically, I'm not going to even try to figure it out because, again, I've had guests on. I've talked to friends in real life, very religious people. They've gone through different stages of Christianity. And again, the most honest people tell you, I don't know. You don't really know. You don't know how to interpret some of this stuff. Right.
Nobody. Well, I do want to play a little bit. I just want to go back a little bit to the CBDC because September 25th, there's an article by Banking Dive. It says the House panel passes a bill to thwart the CBDC. The Financial Services Committee advanced a bill last week that would block the creation of the central bank digital currency. So I don't know if, in fact, that's going to happen. But, I mean, at least that's something. Some people are saying that it's not a good deal. The problem is that, you can't. And I think, too, Las Vegas.
Wait, who passed this?
It says here, this was September 25th. That the House panel, House majority, passes the bill. They passed a bill to thwart the CBDC. Yeah, okay. And it says here, the House Financial Services Committee last week passed a bill that would stop the Federal Reserve from working on a central bank digital currency, leaving the full House a chance to consider the legislation. The bill would amend the Federal Reserve Act to prohibit the Federal Reserve supervised banks from issuing a central bank digital currency or any digital asset that is substantially similar under any other name or label directly to an individual.
Yeah, I guarantee you none of that matters. Gobbledygook. Anything coming from government is a BS anyway. The system is written. There's no one in Congress, the Senate, President. They're all on board with the system. So whatever the system decides is going to happen, it's going to happen. And there's too much invested in it. As I said, 113 countries are already building it. This is all being directed out of the Bank for International Settlements, which is really the most powerful public-facing organization there is globally. We created it, by the way. All this, the wonderful United States that everyone loves so much, created all this.
Yeah. And it's all been under the radar. I mean, that's the thing. But now that people see, I do think people are waking up, but like they're just learning that this is the system we're under and there's not much we can do about it.
Here's how this is how I believe. This is my opinion. Like a lot of times I'll be sitting here working on something. I try to war game a lot of this. This is how I see they're going to do it. And also this is based on my research and analysis on the technologies and who these different companies are working with and what government departments, because you can start to then draw conclusions. What they're going to do probably in the next, I would say within the next 2 years, they might wait until after the 2024 election, because I do think it's going to come through Trump, is that there's going to be another huge housing collapse and banking crisis coming, like 2008. Like that's already on the horizon.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And what they're going to do is they're going to collapse the whole system. And a bunch of people are going to lose their pension money. People that were in unions, teachers, firemen, all those types of folks, because the pension money is all invested in the hedge funds who took the money and invested that money into short-term rentals like Airbnbs. Right. And now the Airbnb market is completely oversaturated. There's too many Airbnbs now. Nobody's renting them anymore. They're all owned by the hedge funds. They're no longer owned by individual people. So they're going to take a bunch of properties and they're going to put them on the market very soon that are going to go up for less than they bought them for. So the hedge funds are going to take a loss. Well, who gets hurt? The pension holders, regular people. Yeah. At the same time, when all that flood of inventory goes on the market, it's going to drive down the price of everyone's house. So all these people the last 3 years during COVID that went out and bought houses for 2 times what they were worth, or people that owned a house and then went and took out a home equity loan because they're like, oh, my $200,000 house is now worth $400,000. I'm going to go get a $100,000 credit card. Well, they're going to wake up tomorrow. And all these people that thought they had $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 houses who check Zillow every day, like they're looking at their house as a stock, they're going to see it went from 700 to 400. And these people are going to either be putting guns in their mouth or they're going to walk away from these things. The whole system's going to collapse. And then what's going to come with it is they're finally going to bring Social Security to a head, right? Because we have all the boomers now on Social Security. And they're going to say, I believe it's actually going to be Trump. And he just said something the other day that really tells me it's going to be him, because he's already setting up that he's going to save Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, that he's going to come out and say, oh, my God, it is collapsing. And if you folks don't believe me, look, he sold the vaccine. He sold COVID. He sold the lockdowns. So if you don't think he's going to do this again, I'm sorry, but this is the reality. I don't live in fantasy land. I voted for Trump. I supported Trump. I gave money to Trump back in 2016, but I thought he was our last hope. Well, he was our last hope, and it didn't work. So now what's going to happen?
Well, it worked for 3.5 years until
it didn't work. It didn't work for 3.5 years. No, he was
everything in the.
He was a Trojan horse. He never actually accomplished anything he ever said he was going to do. The whole thing was the setup for COVID, getting everybody back into the market by having Wall Street go up. That was all fake, all created to steal people's money again. So now what's going to happen is Social Security is going to collapse. He's going to come out and say they're going to save it by using a new system, which is going to be the central bank digital currency system. Along with it is going to come universal basic income. Universal basic income is just welfare for everyone that's going to be distributed through the central bank digital currency system. You have to go back and look at Technocracy Inc. and the energy certificates to understand like the blueprint for how it works. They're going to tell everyone that AI and robots, they're sorry that they're taking our jobs, but now we have an abundance of goods and therefore people don't have to work anymore. So they're going to convince you, just like during COVID with the measly $700 checks, that you can sit on your couch and eat Twinkies all day while their robots and AI that they developed are going to do all the work and just distribute food to you while they give you free credits to buy it. That's basically the final chapter before they just kill everyone, before they depopulate. Like once they start handing you things for free for you to sit home, you know it's basically you're about to be sent off to the gas chamber, because you don't really think Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and Eric Schmidt and the rest of these guys wake up every day to use their genius to develop robots and AI to run everything, to create products, to then give to you for free. People actually really believe that, folks. Use critical thinking. They are not going to let you sit on your couch and eat the Twinkies that their robot made. That is not going to happen. That's the final setup. So I think a lot of the technological system is going to be fully in place by 2030. After that, they start with the depopulation at like high speed. I just don't see it any other way. And this, if you want to compare it to the biblical stuff you're talking about, this is where we're going to get into, some of that coming to life. Now, sometimes I wonder, is this happening because it was the way it was written and it was God's word and it's telling us what's going to occur? Or is this not naturally happening? It's happening because these sick people are bringing the bad elements or sort of the scary elements of the Bible to life because they believe they are gods. They are the ones playing gods. And so they believe they can control the outcome, by making all this come to life. I mean, again, you can't sit there and think through all this or you will actually go crazy. But clearly they're following a strategy because all the technology needed to do this is being built 24/7, 365. And they've been working on this for well over 100 years. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I kind of differ. I mean, I'm of the mindset that I feel like I just don't think, okay, I have two things. First, like I said before, I don't think that God's going to allow his creation to be completely obliterated off the face of the earth, and that we're all just gonna like it would be like what do you call it? Total Recall. Remember that movie, Total Recall, where people go in and they go on vacation and everybody's got, you know, everything's all robotic and everything. Or there was the Demolition Man. That was another apocalyptic show.
But if you believe in God, you have to believe in free will. If you believe in free will, then this has to happen.
I think some people that are, yes, there's free will. You can either live like you're saying, right, and just take the chip, take, you know, whatever they're going to give you and sit on your ass, or you can, I think, live else.
No, I mean, if you're speaking biblically, the ones who take the chip and the ones who do that are going to go to hell, and the ones who don't do it are going to go to heaven. But it doesn't mean God is going to come in and save humans to live in this current form that we're in now.
I think that there could be, I think, you know, this is the other thing, you know, I mean, when you go back, let's talk about, you know, in the Bible, you've got Moses, remember, led all the Egyptians down from, you know, the Pharaoh that was there, and he was going to kill them all, got them down to the Red Sea, and then the Red Sea moment, right? That was a miracle that God performed. I mean, if you believe in that story, then there has to be more to this. There's got to be more to it. I try to believe there has to be some way of getting rid of these evil people who just don't want to be, who don't want humanity. They don't like humanity. They think we're the, you know, shit off of the bottom of their shoe. They think we're sucking up all their resources. I mean, what kind of a world is that? That's like insane to me.
No, I know, but if you're going off the Bible, does the Bible say anywhere that God is going to come and destroy all the evil people and then let everyone else continue to live a life and go to work at McDonald's and stuff that they were doing before? No. It doesn't say that.
But Jesus comes back in Revelations, that Jesus comes back for the battle, for the final battle. And
but that's why I'm saying all this stuff has to go way, way, way into the future, to the point where there's 80% of people have brain chips in their heads and they have alien body parts. I mean, it doesn't happen tomorrow. But it has to get so much worse than it is now before that occurs, right?
Well, yes, and I do agree with that. I mean, I don't know when that's going to happen. I mean, nobody knows that. But, you know, I just kind of, I try to feel like it's more, I'm trying to be more optimistic than it's just, you know, everything's going to go to shit and we're screwed. I mean, I just feel like there's got to be something more.
Well, the Bible tells you it's going to go to shit and we're screwed.
Well, it does. It does in Revelation, but I don't even think we're there yet. I don't think.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's going to get a lot. It's going to get a lot worse. So to think that God is going to come save humanity, if you look at let's say if you go off the natural progress right now, I think technology is the issue, is the problem. That's evil. So technology, because it's completely opposite of humanity. Technology is now advancing at exponential growth. So I think you're going to see the process speed up and speed up and speed up. But if you're going off it probably won't happen in my lifetime, but it's going to get a hell of a lot worse. It's not God's going to come and save everybody that took a vaccine, and God's going to come save all these people that took a brain chip. That would mean that he's not allowing them to exercise their free will. If somebody willingly got a vaccine in their arm and it gives them cancer or put them or whatever it is, then, and they're going to die, they're going to die. That was their free will. They went and took the vaccine. No one was forced. Nobody was strapped down and held in a chair.
People were forced. They
were not forced. No one was forced. No. What if your job told you that you can't have your job unless you kill your firstborn child?
Well,
you exercise free will. Did you kill your?
I'm not going to do that.
Well, no. But when did a job become something that you give up your health? Oh, I need my job to pay my mortgage, but I believe the vaccine is going to kill me, so I'm going to go get the vaccine. What if I die next week and now I can't pay my mortgage? My family is screwed. I'm not even there to protect them. So no one was forced into getting the vaccine. If you want to go off of free will, no one was dragged in, held down, strapped to a table, and had a needle put in their arm. Every single person made a decision.
People felt that, though.
Well,
I mean,
it
a lot
doesn't
of
matter
people,
if they felt it. They made a decision. People made a decision.
I guess.
No
I mean,
one was forced. How many people do you know that walked away from their job because they wouldn't get the vaccine?
well, I do know a lot of people that did walk away from their jobs, and they were like, I mean, I went to a rally in Olympia where they were like, there was a huge, do not comply rally, and people were getting up and they were talking about, I have to quit my job because they're trying to force us to have this vaccine, and I'm not going to do it. And people were getting up there crying because they have big families and everything else. And so,
well, there you go. They exercised free will. They made a choice. The ones who went and did get it made a choice also. So why are they going to be saved? They made a choice.
Right.
What about the people who made a choice and they wanted to get it, but that's because they were so fearful of COVID, or because they believed Anthony Fauci, or because they believed Donald Trump? Well, no, I mean, do they get a break? Do they get a break because they're stupid?
No.
Exactly. So the ones who decided to keep their job if you believe that's mark of the beast type situation, then why do those people get a free pass?
But I don't think that was the mark of the beast. I think the chip is the mark of the beast.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. But I'm saying, you can't believe that there's free will, and then God. What if somebody quit their job because they didn't like the rules at work and now they're homeless? Does that God come and save them? They exercise free will. I mean, that's free will, or it's not free will.
But I also think too that there are miracles that happen in the world. I'm going to go back.
You have to see one.
I'm going to give you a good example. You're going to probably laugh at me, but this is how I looked at it. Okay. People did not see it as a miracle at the time, or didn't say it was a miracle at the time, but Bret Michaels from Poison, right? You know who that is? Yeah. I know you're going to laugh at me. Wow. But in 2010, he was late at night, I don't know, 2, 3 in the morning, and he suddenly had like a big pain in his head, whatever. And it turns out it was like a big aneurysm or whatever. And 50% of the people never even make it to the hospital, but he made it to the hospital, and they were basically preparing, saying that he was going to die. I mean, the doctors told him, the family, to come in. He had kids, you better say your last goodbye. And he made a recovery that most people don't ever make. And I looked at it as more like a miracle from like that. And there have been miracles on earth that has happened. And so
that's a stretch. First off, that's called public relations, and you don't even know if that story is true. It came out on Bret Michaels' public relations machine. Number one. Number two, did you look at his medical records? Number three, have you done deep research and interviewed doctors? Number four, why did God save Bret Michaels? I mean,
he came out and he could barely walk and whatever. But anyway,
Joe Biden could barely walk. What is it?
The point is that there are miracles every single day, and I just don't want to discount that because, is it possible that the veil of like brainwashing could be lifted from people, and they would like see the world in the way it was? That's sort of what I'm hoping for. But
never. It hasn't happened throughout history, so why would it happen now?
I don't know. We're at the end of history. Let's just say, the way that you're talking, it's the end of the world. This is it. There's going to be no more humans probably by the year 2050 in your estimation, because everybody's going to
2050, yeah. I would say before that.
I would say 2050. Okay, that's what, 30 years from now, about approximately. And so if that's the case, then yeah, I think this is the end of the world. I mean, we're at that juncture. And do I think that God is going to allow his creation to be destroyed, the human race be destroyed? I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I'm praying for a miracle.
Did God create all the animals?
Yes, God created everything.
So has God allowed some of his creations to go extinct?
Yes.
There
to
you
coexist.
go.
Yes. But
he allowed certain creations.
But the people who are doing this, but the technocrats it's man-made. Do you understand the difference? That is man-made.
Well, what it shows me, if you believe, how many people do you believe are walking around completely brainwashed? What percentage of people? Like
that are
brainwashed that don't even
98%.
understand. Yeah, I'd say 99.999%.
I'm being generous.
So if you have 0.001% that are the completely evil people that have risen to the top, sociopathic psychopaths, really, that rule over the people, and then 99% are brainwashed and stupid, then God's creation was pretty bad, wasn't it?
But I do think that there could be a change, is all I'm saying.
Well, no, but God allows, even like the Antichrist, God allows evil to exist. So people have
but that's the
exercise their free will to go one way or the other. So if the people exercise their free will by trickery, the Antichrist uses trickery.
Right.
And they've chosen that. Isn't that them exercising free will? God allowed them to exercise free will.
Right. Well, I don't know. I kind of feel like,
I can't cherry pick what's in the Bible, Chrissy. If you're going to go by it, you got to stick with it.
You got to go by the whole thing. Well, I don't know. I'm of the mindset at the moment that I feel like there's going to be something that there's going to be something that is going to tip because there's always balance, right? There's good and evil, and it's the balance of the universe. There's a yin and a yang, right? There's yin and yang. Yes, there's free will, but there's also when people they don't know any better, like you and me. We go and we research stuff. We understand how things work. We understand the matrix as it is, and we understand, the opposition, the paid opposition, the truther, everything that they're doing. Okay, we understand that, but there has to be a point where humanity has a one up, I guess I should say. And I think I think it's coming. I really do.
I am on the side of humanity, but I have no faith in humanity.
Right. Well,
humans have proven to me time and time again that they are generally stupid. Generally stupid. Yeah. Like, for instance, choosing your job over getting the job, getting the job.
I don't understand that. And in fact, I talked to one of my friends. Her husband was a sheriff in the area, and he went and got it, and he regrets it. But they said, well, you can't work unless you get it, and now they're trying to push the booster on him. And they all said,
look, there's a lot of things that a lot of people regret. What did I do? I'll just tell your audience. I probably would get in trouble. Yeah, I went out and got a counterfeit vaccine card and had my name put into the vaccine registry so I could travel. And if they ever pulled up the card number, I would show that I was vaccinated. That's how much James Bond stuff I did so that I could be able to travel during it. So there were options for people to do things like that. I'm not special. I don't have like a CIA.
Yeah, but people don't think like you do.
But that's not my. But that means
you're very good at like breaking stuff down.
Yeah, but that means everyone, because their lack of knowledge or ability to do things, should be like lifted up. No, I'm not good at other things. I'm not a multimillionaire Wall Street banker. Does that mean somebody should come hand me $1 billion because I don't know how to trade stocks? These are decisions that people made. Again, you just go to the grocery store, look around, watch people for hours. Just watch them. Most of them, frankly, I'm waiting for them to drop dead. When I drive around in traffic, most of these people they don't use their blinker. They don't do that. They don't even know they don't even have just decency anymore. And I've thought about this. If I were Bill Gates, who's really just a puppet, like a face of it, but if I were sitting around the round table of the Club of Rome, of the evil people, the black nobility, I would probably be saying, hey, can we speed this up? Can we get rid of some of these useless people? The way that Yuval Noah Harari talks about us,
can't stand him,
as useless eaters. He said, listen, we're going to drug them and give them video games till we get rid of them. I mean, they openly say this, and when humans don't, I mean, that's the whole point from their perspective,
right?
Of revelation of method. You know, all the stuff that I listen to them say, I'm like, well, this is what they're doing. They're telling you what they're freaking doing. They show it to you.
Right.
And they try to get to every single individual in one way or another through different channels. So whether you're into music or you're into watching movies or you watch politics or you watch, stuff right from World Economic Forum, or you're, all the things I'm not even aware of, video games, cartoons, they jam it. They get it out there, and they're telling you what they're doing, because they believe that's what keeps their conscience clear. It's good for their karma that they told you.
The universal code they have.
So you didn't exercise your free will and revolt against them. So, I mean, that's why. So everyone is aware in one way or another that this is coming, that it's here. Actually, it's not coming. And no one is doing anything. No one has stopped it. No one. Right. I mean, what has anyone done to stop it? I mean, that's why at this point, I've talked to you like the last year, we've been looking at property and we're trying to find the right one, but I'm going to flee from it as much as possible. And some people will say, oh, that's cowardly. Well, listen, it's the same people that thump their chest and talk about, July 4th and the founding of the country. Well, everyone who came over to America before there was the founding of America were fleeing other places, fleeing England, right? So I'm going to flee, to a place within the United States, but I'm fleeing from the system as much as possible. And then at some point, maybe there will be people like the founders that come together in this area that I'm fleeing to, and then we form a new country. That would be like the beginning of America again. As far as like America, there's nothing. You can't save it. What does it mean? What does America even mean anymore? It's nothing. It doesn't exist.
I mean, so the purpose, I'm beginning to believe that the purpose of them coming over here was to set up another country that they could control. And I mean, obviously, all of our money goes to the Queen, right? It goes elsewhere. All of our tax money goes to other entities, other countries all over the world. And, that's what they decided to do. So it's really disheartening because, I was brought up, I love America. I loved my country. And now to know that it's just a bunch of bullshit. I mean, I don't know if you remember, I think it was in February, quote, President Biden, whatever, Brandon, he signed the North American Constitution with Canada and Mexico effectively. Basically, we're now one territory. I mean, I don't know if you know about that.
Go back to World War II. Before it was even over, the United States had put together what was called the World Constitution. Yeah. Then we went over to Europe with the Marshall Plan, which was to push Europe into American mass consumption and mass production. And we had the World Constitution, that we had committees here, a number of those technocrats and people involved with FDR's New Deal team were all part of this. And this is how we created the Bank for International Settlements, World Bank, the United Nations. I mean, this has been going on long before Brandon or before Trump or whatever. That's what I'm saying. There's no stopping it, because it cannot be stopped, because where it's going was pre-written. So you would have to believe that there is some secret team that's going to save the world. There is no secret team that's going to save the world. I mean, okay, if people wanted to believe that was Trump during the whole beginning of the Q thing, that's one thing. Well, it's proven that that's not real. So there is no secret team. There's no underground people. There's no military, Navy SEALs, anything that's going to save it. Look, you just said that sheriff went and got vaccinated. So who's going to save anything? There's no organized resistance. Even in my own life, over the last year, we've become good friends with people through the home birth process that we did with our son, people through, sort of anti-vax movement, people through homeschool network, people through homesteaders. I have conversations with them. These people don't understand any of this kind of stuff. They're just doing their thing for one reason or another. So to think there's some resistance that's going to stop the system controls 99.999% of people, most people, every day we get up, we go to work, we're working for the system to move the system forward. All the programmers, all the developers, all the learn to coders are working for the system. All the lawyers are working for the system. Everyone is licensed by the government. Everyone is regulated by the government. You have to bend over backwards, get the vaccine just to work at a business because the government said so. So to think there's a resistance against, there's no resistance against it. You cannot stop it. It's sad and it's very difficult to accept it, but you have to be realistic about it, which is why I said, okay, we wouldn't be making the move to try to go into the mountains of West Virginia if I didn't accept all these things, because otherwise I would just sit here and keep saying, oh, I have hope. Maybe tomorrow it'll change. Maybe my neighbor will wake up. And that's just, it's not the case. So the most realistic thing you can do is try to put yourself in a position to go live in a self-sustaining way as possible, with relative peace and normalcy. Now, maybe you buy yourself a little bit of time, but I know I won't have to there's a little ostrich in the head in the sand type of thing, because I'm not going to tune into any of this nonsense. I'm going to live my life in the farm till they come gas me. I mean, it's going to happen at some point. But so I've had a lot of people through this process reach out to me, generally people that are older in their 70s, that'll say to me, all right, listen, I live whatever in Seattle in a 55 and over community. I want to continue to just live my life this way, but I want to have kind of a bug out, crap hits the fan, cabin somewhere on a homestead. But if I go buy 20 acres, what good is that going to be in a couple of years from now if they do a Maui fire on our city, or there's another lockdown and I go run to this homestead? Well, I have no farm there. I have no livestock. I have no food. I have no infrastructure. So what's the point of that? But I want it. So that's kind of what I've been talking to a lot of these people, because I'm trying to figure out ways to just be working on the land every day, not having to go into the matrix and build websites for people or work on design projects, but be able to wake up, working on the land, and being able to pay the bills. So I'm like, well, what if I created a model in which I have sort of a bug out cabin for you ready to go when you want to take off, and the infrastructure of this mini farm will be there. There'll be canned food because every day I'm getting up and working on it. Well, that's sort of, those people are thinking like ahead, like, how do I get out of this situation in a jam? I'm thinking, how do I do this and be able to wake up every day and have my son in the next couple of years, as he turns 3-4 years old, come out and work with me on the land instead of having him see me sit down at the computer and go to work. So to me, this is my solution. It's like, that's the only thing I can see as far as being realistic and kind of proactive in this, because if you sit back and you've got all this money locked up in a 401k or sitting in your savings or something, and you're like, well, I hope CBDC doesn't happen. I hope the day doesn't come that they take our money. Oh, that will never happen. Well, go back 20 years ago. COVID would never happen. The Patriot Act would never happen. The housing collapse of 2008 would never happen. Joe Biden wouldn't happen. Vaccines wouldn't happen. There's a lot of things that people said weren't going to happen that happened. I mean, the big one, again, I bring it up because it's the biggest one. They won't cut little boys' wieners off. Oh, that'll never happen. They won't trot kids out on national TV to dance and drag. That'll never happen. Oh, they won't let weird monster child pedophiles come out in dragon costumes and show their privates to children. That will never happen. Well, guess what? It's all happening. So I sit here and I go, okay, based on the trajectory of the exponential growth of the end times coming our way, I go, okay, CBDC is going to happen. So I've had people ask me, well, I've got 100, 200, whatever, $1,000 sitting in a 401k. What do you think? I'm like, listen, I'm not a financial advisor, but I know it's sure of a hell a lot easier for them to take CBDC or not, your money is sitting in a spreadsheet. It's digital, right? So tomorrow, if you wake up and your Edward Jones account or your Charles Schwab account or your TD Ameritrade account is just gone. Let's say it's just gone. You go to log in, it's gone.
There's nothing you can do. It's just
who are you going to? In the old days, you would go complain to the attorney general. You would say, my local bank ripped me off. I had $10,000. Here's my checkbook. They told me there's nothing there. You wake up tomorrow and it's gone. You can't log in. Who the hell are you complaining to? Who are you talking to? What, the police are going to go arrest Larry Fink at BlackRock? That's never going to happen. So,
BlackRock and Vanguard are the worst. I mean, they own everything.
Yeah, but I'm like, if you had that money and you went and bought, let's say, a piece of property, acreage, and then you built some kind of storage unit or underground, whatever it may be. I'm not into like high-end prepping, because if it gets to the point where I have to live underground and suck oxygen through a bendy straw, I'd probably rather not be alive anyway. But, but if you had a warehouse right now, and 3 years ago or 4 years ago, you cashed out part of your 401k and you went and invested in toilet paper, you went and bought giant packs of toilet paper from Costco, you would have kept up with inflation, because a giant pack of toilet paper 5 years ago, pre-COVID at Costco, might have been $15. It's $27 now.
Right.
So you would have kept up if you had went and invested in stocking up water. Now, let the government at that point, or the state, try to come and destroy that or take it from you at gunpoint. That's how I see it. And then you could live your fantasy of the founders and make your final stand protecting your property. Let them take it from you, instead of waking up one day and they go, hey, the whole market crashed. You have no money left. Don't worry, we're going to give you CBDC and UBI. They still have to come and steal the property. Now, they can do it through eminent domain. They can do it through military force. They can, but whatever. I'd rather force them to come and take my stuff from me. Like, come and take my coffee cup, or, pry this gun from my cold, dead hands. But if I'm sitting there with $300,000 that I saved up my whole life in a 401k, I sure as hell know they can take it. And they don't even have to take it. They take it through inflation. So if you have $300,000 and a can of coffee is $12 today, but next week the can of coffee is $24, now your $300,000 is only worth $150,000.
Right.
You just stole 50% of your money. So that's why I'm saying to people, the more that you understand and start to kind of accept what's actually coming, don't even think about it as darkness. Look, there's 50% of people running around, if they understood this, probably want it. They go, what? Brain chips and UBI? Oh, I can't wait. This is so cool. So for us, we don't want it. But if you understand it's coming, it's like if you believe there was going to be a world war and that Russia was actually going to invade the United States, and you knew that, you would start making plans for how to protect your family. And I think we've seen enough stuff happen in the last 10 to 20 years. It's so crazy, because we've reached exponential growth of craziness, that now you can say to yourself, okay, CBDC, UBI is coming. Technocracy is here. It's only going to get worse. Transhumanism is real. They're cutting kids' penises off, and Elon Musk is shoving brain chips in people's heads. It's real. It's here. Where's it going to be in 10 years from now? 2030 is a target year for them. So at this point, how do I realign my career situation so that I can generate revenue, whatever that is, in the form of dollars or CBDC or pine
whatever,
whatever it may be, so that I could, and then get a piece of land or whatever works best for you, flat farmland up in the mountains. We pick sort of a mountain pasture for a certain reason. And then be able to have your plan in 7 years. It sucks to have to think this way, but if you were starting a business pre-COVID, when things were pretty much consistent for 100-year period in our country, basically from World War II through pre-COVID, kind of ran the same way. If you were starting a business, not even looking for investors, but just going to create a food truck, you would sit there and you'd write out a 5-year plan. Believe it or not, people, before they even got married, would start to talk about, like, hey, what's our life plan? Okay, in the next 5 years, I want to get a raise. Then by this, we're going to have our first kid, our second kid. We want to have a house by this. Like, back before the world was crazy, people actually were able to plan. I think now it's very difficult to plan because you're like, are they going to lock me down? Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to have to get another jab? Are the blacks going to run for the city and burn my house down? Are they going to pour illegal immigrants into my neighborhood? You know, nobody knows what's going to happen. Well, if you start to say, okay, well, we know where they want to go in 2030. No more guessing. I don't need to waste a lot of time learning about all the details of this. I don't really care about who Klaus Schwab or Yuval Noah Harari is because they don't really have an effect over my life, but I accept what they're saying is true. This is what they want to do because all the plans tell me that. And then start to actually put an action plan together to change your life so that by the time we get to 2030, you're going, hey, you know what? I'm sitting on 15 acres. I downsized, but my kids are being raised here. We've got a garden. We've got livestock. We have food. Now, if the government wants to come and burn it down and destroy it, let them come after me. But I did everything in my power to try to work around this stuff because at this point, other than what you said, and I was literally playing the devil's advocate there, but other than what you said, other than God coming down or some miracle, it's not going to change. If it continues on this trajectory without any divine intervention, then it's bad. It's really going to be bad. And most people are going to be stuck.
And I think the key is to yes, when I do say divine intervention, that's how I would say it. And I do think that people just have to get into the mindset of, and what I've been doing and what a lot of my friends have been doing is we just ignore the 3D reality because it's crazy. Like, you know, you will go nuts in a day. And like I said before, you'll be in a fetal position. So I think the best thing we can do is to try and establish a place to go. And what I like about what you're trying to do is create like some kind of a community where maybe a bunch of people own land close enough together to where you have a community and you can, you know, kind of trade with each other, you know, survive. Because I kind of liken it to if you go back to like the 1850 Little House on the Prairie days, you know, that's sort of what I have in my head for what I would like to do. Then you're living off the land as much as you can, as long as you can, but you also have people nearby that you trust, okay, and that will fight with you. You know what I'm saying? Like if anything bad happens or whatever, at least you know people and you're not by yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing. They've isolated us so much, you know, isolated us in our homes through the COVID crap. They isolate us. They want us isolated so that we are fearful. And I think the key is to find like-minded people that are willing to try and get a community together, whether that's, you know, getting a bunch of parcels of land together and moving forward in that sense. But like you said, we only have maybe 7 years at this point.
Well, and I'll tell you this, part of what I decided to do, because now I started actually thinking this way. Not that it was unique. There was a lot of people already homesteading, and you'll meet a lot of homesteaders that are like hippies from the left. They do it because they like to grow pot and, you know, eat.
Well, there's a lot of people like that out here where I'm at, like hippie style.
Yeah. So it's not like it was a new idea. People that tend to be on the right, there was more like prepper communities. So one of the things is I started thinking that way really during COVID. I was like, man, I should have been prepared for this. I should have had something like this. And I started looking for land back when I was living in Nashville, out in the rural areas of Nashville. Now that I'm in Maryland, we started looking at West Virginia. I actually like West Virginia better for certain reasons. And we finally zeroed in on one in particular county during this whole year search. Some of the counties, it was too high up in the mountains. So you'd have to drive 20 minutes up into a mountain to then get in to what would be your property. This county, we found the highest mountains are about 1,000 feet above sea level. And then when you are driving through the main lands, it's basically in the pastures. And then you'll take a right into a long driveway, and that big piece of property you'll own certain mountain peaks and valleys inside of it. So the last one we were looking at over the last 6 weeks, which we were really hoping to get, was 300 acres. It's like a mixture of pastures and valleys and peaks, and everything kind of works. I'm not going to get into all the details, but there's so much I learned in the last year. The other thing about West Virginia is, in the majority of counties, the property taxes are really low. So you could own 300 acres with as many structures as you want on it, and you might be paying $700 a year. Now, out here, you're on an eighth of an acre in a new house, these Lego houses, I call them. Oh, $10,000 a year or more. So you're out there paying almost nothing. The other thing is what I was able to find, there are certain counties, because initially we were actually looking at getting something near sort of a tourist attraction, a state park, hiking, and building kind of an Airbnb model into it. We ended up deciding not to, because what I started finding was basically coming out of the UN, like 2030 agenda plans that many of these counties have adopted because they've been already infiltrated and taken over. West Virginia is kind of one of the last wild frontiers. And so you'll find the 300-page development plans that show how they're going to take all the farmland and start building out, which they're doing all around me right now, including next door and across the street. The Lego home communities, or the stack and packs, where they pop 10 houses on 1 acre. So we're staying clear of that in West Virginia. So I found this county that's very small. It has no industry. It was run by this good old boy network who wouldn't even let a cell tower in there for many years. Now, their kids have kind of taken over the last 5 or 10 years, but they're also very conservative when it comes to that. And they're keeping the kind of all the big technology out. There's no industry. Amazon's not really coming there. So I'm looking for a place that's as close to a town that time forgot. And I want to try to help keep it that way because I realize anytime you bring in business or technology, that's it. That's the beginning of the end. That's when you actually sell your soul. So we like West Virginia for that reason. This particular county also has a river that runs through it. Some of the areas would be classified by FEMA as flood areas, so you have to watch out for insurance. But I like the fact that there's water flowing through, so you can drill good wells. There's a lot of streams and stream-fed ponds on a lot of these properties. So we're looking at one now that's 72 acres, and I'll usually look at the parcel maps because I try to see in the future are there opportunities to maybe buy up some of the chunks, because this area in the rural, they're generally 50 acre and above sort of tracts of land. So the 300 acres we were looking at, which was on the other side of town from where this one is, next to it was 150 acres, 200 acres. And there's opportunities in the future to buy some of those and keep expanding the footprint. Now, because I've talked to a lot of people through my podcast, one of the things I realized, unfortunately, it's the way the world works. There has to be leaders that rise up, because most people, even though they want to escape or they're aware, are actually followers. So when you try to talk to people, you're like, listen, why don't you try to buy this piece of land? Or most people can't do what I just did, which was spend the whole year and hundreds of hours researching zoning and regulations and understanding, is that bridge on my property going to collapse? How do you clear the land? How do you do this? So I'm like, what we need to do is start off by buying a big chunk of land, making sure that our house is there. And then what I'm working on is then some of the people that I know that might have money to buy land, maybe they want to build their own, a little McMansion on their land, to do that kind of thing. While other people that can't, but they could afford to contribute monthly, because let's say I told you the older people that have some extra income and they want to pay every month to make sure they have a place to go to if crap hits the fan, then they can do that. Other people that may say, well, I want to live there full time, but I could basically only pay like sort of a monthly rent. Okay, can we afford to construct I'm not talking about living in like a cabin, like the Unabomber, but I'm talking, kind of like the sort of the house that you have on the water there. So can you build these little cottages that have heat, have water, bathroom, the regular, and people could come and live on there? Then maybe And then what happens is whatever deal it is, whether the person's buying a piece of land and constructing, or they're going to put a small cabin there and sort of rent,
Right.
then part of that money is being reinvested into the infrastructure. So we're building out the gardens, we're building
Right.
out the livestock, because I've spent the last few months learning all about rabbit breeding and butchering, goat milking,
Poor bunny.
sheep. Yeah, well, we got to survive.
I know. I
So
totally
I've been learning about all this stuff. All this land in West Virginia also is rich with hunting. So there's big 12-point
yeah.
bucks and stuff like that. So now everyone who's coming into this sort of new little Amish community
Yeah.
has access to these resources, which is part of what some people need. Older people might be like, this is great, but I can't go outside and work in the garden. I can't, butcher the rabbits. Well, hey, can you do canning? We set up the canning
Yeah.
operation in the community kitchen, like a commercial kitchen. So I'm like, you know what? I've just got to do it, figure out how to put the initial money together, get it, and then start building out a model like this, and then hand selecting the kind of people I want to come and live there. Because if I keep saying to people, well, you try to buy that piece of land over there, or you try to do, people just can't do it. It's too complicated. If somebody lives in Texas, they can't be coming back and forth. We're already driving, 12 hours round trip every time we go down to West Virginia every other weekend. But we made a lot of friends there, a lot of contacts, very old school people, old school carpenters. So we've got people that can work on the land. So that's really what we're focusing on now. And then at the same time, because like I said, I just, first off, I know the creative stuff I'm in, I've already accepted in 1 to 3 years, it will be gone. AI is going to replace that.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process now I've been pitching different people in industries that I think will last a little longer, where I can get 3 to 5 years of matrix money coming in, because that's the cash I need to buy bulldozers and a tractor and, old F-150s that you need to drive around the land, wood to build structure. So that's what I'm in the process of doing, because I'm actually preparing for this. Like, okay, I need to get 3 to 5 years of matrix money coming in. Then I might create revenue by getting some people signed up to come live in this land. And then we start building it out. I'll be the leader who puts it together, because I'm not going to wait for somebody else to do it, because no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's like somebody has to do it. And the reason why I prefer to bring other people in on it is because, one, I actually do want community.
Yes.
I do want people that have skills that go, hey, I'm going to become the master canner and be able to can all the pickles and can all the beets. Okay, I don't have to learn that then. I can be the guy who, unfortunately has to skin the rabbits or whatever. But then with a community, you can be stronger. One, you can grow it faster. And then in the beginning, you have more resources coming in. So I don't have to spend 80 hours a week working in the matrix. Maybe I only have to work in the matrix 20 or 30 hours, because there's additional revenue there to work on building out infrastructure. So that's I'm like, hey, this is my calling. It has to be done. I'm not going to be caught like I was at the beginning of COVID, totally unprepared. Like if it is now, it was free will. It was my fault for not moving this forward faster.
Yeah. Well, none of us knew. I mean, it was just crazy. And I would like to join you out there. I mean, what I would probably do is I'm looking at, and this, I've been researching getting an RV and sort of living on that, living in something like an RV, or being able to have like an outbuilding similar to what I have now, which is like the little cottage that I live in. It's 500 square feet, but it has a loft. So, I mean, something like this. I don't want anything pretty much bigger than that. But I think the key is going to be to get as many people as possible involved in that, in the process of what you're doing. And so if people are, let's in closing, because we've been talking for quite a while here, we kind of went on all kinds of tangents, as we usually do. But what's your parting words, and what if people are interested in maybe what you're doing, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, I'm not like posting this stuff
not yet
publicly. I'm talking to a lot of different people
okay.
On the side, but you can I mean, if people are interested, you could just email me, and that would
Or
just
you can
be
email me if they want.
yeah, and Chrissy can connect us. But
I'll
I
put
mean,
I'll put my email. You guys can forward, yeah, and then I'll forward it to you. We could do that. And two, and I will suggest that if you guys want to know more about the all the research that he's done and the podcasts over the years, I would suggest you go to his podcast. It's like it's a library, and it basically he has breaking down everything. Everything is resourced and investigated thoroughly. So if you want to give that information again, Dustin.
yeah, you can find it on every podcast platform. The Dustin Gold Standard.
The Dustin Gold Standard.
Yeah, the Dustin, and like I said, it's evergreen. So if you kind of, I stopped at a certain point, obviously, which was around April, but I was ending actually the series with explaining data centers. And so a lot of people were writing me talking about these warehouses they were seeing pop up all over the place.
Yeah.
And I said there's actually two things that are going on if you look into these. One, they're becoming warehouses that are actually going to be the central points of what I call like the expanded Amazon, because retail is going to be gone in the next 5 years. You won't be able to walk in a store.
That's so sad. I like to go shopping.
Well, it's over. This is technocracy. So so you're going to have to rely, and you have to control the goods, Chrissy. If you're going to run the central bank digital currency system, you have to be able to control all this. So that's part of it. But the other thing is data centers. Remember, and I've said before, technocracy, what the elites are creating is actually a paper tiger, because it all operates on electricity and it operates on the internet. And I'll be honest with people, I've watched and listened to a lot of the flat earth stuff. I believe actually flat earth, which is coming out of a lot of people that you would believe are on your side, is actually a giant psyop. And the purpose of that, because every flat earther gets into it, is they try to tell you that satellites are fake and this is fake and that's fake. That is to run cover for Starlink and all the massive satellites. I 100% believe, and I know people personally, this is not anecdotal, that work on testing Elon Musk satellites and are there at the launches. It's 100% real. They are building basically a giant satellite dome around the United States. Could that be used to laser zap us, create holograms in the sky? I mean, even Elon Musk openly admits he's also building, there's a separate one, which is the internet for the governmental structure and military, which is not what we get access to. So I believe that's all a giant psyop, because they are building this. I don't believe this is an illusion. I don't believe it's a giant grift. They're trying to build a technological prison planet to control everyone and eventually kill a lot of people. I mean, and if you don't believe it's real, go throughout history of all different regimes that have killed a lot of people. I mean, why would you not believe that people today don't want to kill a lot of people? There's a lot of us here. You drive down the street and everyone goes, damn that guy, I hope he died. Well, guess what? These people have the ability to make that happen. So
it's so scary.
But I would say the idea that I'm working on with this community is realistic. And you were just talking about, RV situation.
Yeah.
That's also something we took into account, like putting in basically hookups that people wanted to have an RV full time. Also, one of the things I've been doing a lot of sourcing. So I could say to somebody, listen, or if they wanted to, let's say, live there full time, or they just needed it to run if something happens to their area, there's all types of ability to get salvage, broken down RVs, old Winnebagos that don't drive, and we pull them in, put them right on the land. The other thing you were talking about was sort of a building. We were talking about building out basically a big building. It's like a commercial kitchen, giant living room. You can literally have the RV structures inside if you wanted them to, so people can hang out. And the idea is there will be like common areas. I mean, building a community is really important. It's not going to be, hundreds of people. I'm talking in the end, you might have 20 or 30 people max on in a piece of, and it's not like, like a David Koresh compound, or
Let's hope not.
although in all honesty, if some of the stuff about in all honesty, though, if some of the stuff about him was a lie and a smear campaign, this is probably what he was trying to do. But no, I think at a certain point, like once you come to the realization that we are either in end times or obviously approaching it, because you're always approaching the end.
Yeah.
And this is only going to get worse. I stress 2030 because they are on target. I mean, they pulled off so much stuff in the last, I would say since 9/11, really, it's gotten really bad. And now they're finishing off, I think, this whole final border invasion, which is always demographic warfare. And it's us going down. We destabilize the South American and Central American countries. I mean, we run the drug trades and the cartels. We go down there, we destabilize them. Then we use U.S. aid, which we control, to funnel them all up here. It's not like magically everyone in Guatemala walked out of their house one morning and go, "Oh, gee, honey, pack your bag. I think we're going to America." Like people believe it's organic. It's not organic. Are you nuts?
Nothing's organic in that.
And then they had the Border Patrol Union the other day on Twitter literally tweeted out, and they said, "Listen, what do you want us to, like the vaccine thing, what do you want us to lose our jobs? We're just going to do what we're told." So they literally say they're not going to stop it. They're going to do whatever government tells them. So it's obviously all strategic. They're trying to destroy the rest of it. I mean, my guess is the majority of those illegals are probably going to be housed in the $800,000 Lego homes they're building all around me, because I don't know any Americans that are going to be able to afford them. So the government's going to pay for it.
As it is right now, the refugees and stuff, they're in luxurious hotels and shit. Like here we are, we're barely even like able to live wherever we're at. And our tax dollars are paying for it.
You're gonna lose your job to AI. I mean, we were talking about your book before we get on, and I mean, and it's sad. It's just it's a sad situation. And anytime you end up with your business, especially if you have to market nationally, if you only have to market locally, like if you have a bakery, that's still fairly easy to do. But if you're marketing nationally, like your book or my podcast, very difficult. And as soon as you end up in this black trap, this black hole trap of having to grow an Instagram or a Twitter or a TikTok just to be able to sell something, you're like, look, I want to be a writer and write a book. You wrote the book. You thought that was the hard part. That was the easy part.
That was the easy
part. Now getting out there and people telling you have to be a social media guru just to be able to sell a book. And when you, I mean, my personal opinion is someone who's been in design and branding and marketing for 25 years, as soon as it becomes that you have to stand out on the internet amongst all the noise. And now I would venture to guess in the last year, since they publicly released all this AI stuff, that the amount of noise on the internet is probably quadrupled in 1 year. 75% of it being created by AI. How are you going to stand out?
How am I supposed to compete with that? Well, the thing is, too, is like, I mean, it's been impossible. The book, I mean, I've been lucky. Like I said to you, I mean, over the summer, I was able to get into local markets and farmers.
Well, that's not luck. That was your hard work.
Yeah, and so I do have another book signing on Friday in a local bookstore, but trying to get it out to the masses has been very difficult. I mean, I didn't sell one book on Amazon this month, not one. And all the books I sold were just directly selling to people. And that's what you have to do. And it's really sad because my feeling is that, I mean, I know, knowing the genres that are in the book, I know it could be awesome. It would be big, Comic-Con people would love it. But, getting it to that, and I've gotten now 5 literary agent rejections out of the 15 that I've sent out, query letters that I sent out. I just got another one yesterday. So it's very disheartening. And, I don't know what else I can do. I'm just praying and hoping at some point somehow I'm going to write the next 2 books in the series consecutively. and release them at first of the year, and we'll just see what happens with that. I mean, and that's sort of all I can do at this point. And I'm just gonna listen. Let go, let God is what I say. Let go, it's in God's hands at this point, because I can't.
My personal opinion, just being someone who, like I told you, I'm working with that guy Ben Campbell, so someone who advises people on marketing in this world, in this landscape, is if you have time, or you have energy, or you have access to financial resources, or you're going to ask people if they would contribute to help you, my personal opinion is don't waste time trying to build some brand on TikTok, or some brand on Instagram, or some brand on Facebook. You're better off using your time and energy to try to put the resources together, whether it's, borrowing, money from a relative, or if you have certain fans of your book that are willing to donate, to get yourself to, you already said, like San Diego Comic-Con, which is, well, I don't know about now. Last time I was there, it was 300,000 people. If you can get yourself to a San Diego Comic-Con and be able to have a booth, to me, that is so much more valuable than it is to try to build a TikTok, because there, even if you sold 10 books or 12 books or 20 books,
I'd probably sell at least 50. I know I would.
And you're making connections. And then, like I talked to you before the show, like when you collect their email and then you email them 4 or 5 weeks later, giving them time to read the book, and not necessarily using a mass emailer because you have a smaller group right now, but writing a personal email. Hey, Joe, I met you at San Diego Comic-Con. Here's the picture of us. You bought the book. Hey, can you leave me a review over here? And here's a discount if you ever thinking of buying a book for a friend for Christmas or something else, or let me know if you ever wanted to buy them in bulk. I could give you a wholesale rate. That is, to me, the best. At this time, I'm telling people, get back to word of mouth and networking for your business, because the internet is just a freaking black hole. Everything is rigged. Like you've been tricked into believing, as many people have. Put your book on Amazon, or put your freelance services on Fiverr. All this crap is a race to zero. It's like, I'll do a logo for 21 cents. It's like, that's what Fiverr has become.
Right.
And the other thing is, when you're paying for, like, say, a freelance platform like Upwork, I looked into, where a lot of supposed jobs are, those are owned by the technocrats. How do I know when I'm paying them their monthly fee, or I'm buying tokens that I have to use to apply for jobs? How do I even know those jobs are real? They could just be created by AI.
You don't know.
To entice me. They know my profile because you have to submit it to submit jobs. And they go, oh, this would intrigue Dustin. He'll pay $1.50. He'll pay $2 to submit to this one. He'll pay $3. How do I even know any of it's real? I've submitted to 50. I never got one callback. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I did it kind of knowing what it was, but I wanted to prove it to myself first.
Right.
So I think it's getting back to knocking on the door. I listen to a lot of big, like, marketing sales podcasts, and a lot of the top sales guys are even saying right now, the key to sales is get back on the phone, start talking to people, call people, because that's not happening anymore. Yeah, it's happening with, like, robocalls or telemarketers, but not with, like, intelligent people that can carry on a conversation. So I think if you have access to any resources or time now, it's figuring out how to get yourself to Comic-Con and get yourself to these places and bypass wasting a lot of your energy in social media. Because, as you know, even if you're successful and you build up 5 or 10 or 15,000 people, how do you know they're not going to just turn it off on you tomorrow?
Well,
you don't. And then on top of it, on social media, like you've seen, how many podcasts did you reach out to, or TikTokers that supposedly review books, and then the next thing you know, they're not even returning? How do you know those are even real? Those could be AI run accounts. You don't even know.
I did. And not only that, it's very rigged here, because, I mean, like in Seattle, the book takes place in Seattle. I'm a Seattle author. I contacted 45 different radio, there was radio shows. There was, like programs, like, local news programs, for local fun stuff. They do author stuff, but I didn't get anywhere. And I said, I did my own press release, which was, I thought it was pretty good. Send out my own press kit, 45 different places. Not only that, on top of that, I hit bookstores, you know, and I've gotten a few good bookstores. My book is now in third place books in 2 locations in Seattle. Yeah. But it wasn't easy. You know, you have to just think outside the box, and you have to think about just one-on-one. You can't do it like, yeah, it's great, I can send an email, but you have to pick up the phone and actually do the work. Or
I mean, look, that's what I'm doing for Ben right now. I send out basically a introductory type email that I assume is probably just going to be flagged. Now, like I'm sending through a system so I can monitor if they open the email and stuff. Then I come back sending it from Ben's email address, basically saying, hey, my manager reached out to you. And I'm starting in the area that he lives in, right? I'm like, let's start locals. Let's see if we can build you up locally. And I'm like, hey, let's do this old school. Can I come by your office? I'll bring you a cup of coffee. I just want to chat for 10 minutes, see if there's any opportunities. And then I follow up with me hitting him again. Then I follow up with a phone call. Hey, and it's like the ones I've gotten through. That's what I said. It's disheartening because a lot of recording studios where I would easily have gotten him voice work 10 years ago there are like, yeah, man, we're using AI now, or we're not getting enough work right now. We're like really hurting. So it's, it is disheartening. And until you're kind of drilling down into these different industries, you don't notice that this is actually happening. That's why I do believe there's sort of a big collapse that's about to occur between housing and banking and AI. That you talked about an event. This may be the next event that they're setting us up for, which is the collapse. Like, why all of a sudden is Congress sitting there having meetings about AI? You think they're really going to stop it? They funded AI. They funded the creation of AI 50 years ago. So all of a sudden they're talking about it. They're talking about it because they're normalizing it. They're bringing it into the public sphere. And that way they can go, oh my, we tried to do something. Now AI has taken 50 million jobs overnight. So, anyway, that's kind of where all this goes. But yeah, I mean, my recommendation for people is networking. If you've got a business, network in real life, word of mouth, keep those contacts. It's very difficult to start a business from ground up right now if you're going to try to only operate on the internet. Don't get drawn into like affiliate marketing, drop shipping, all this nonsense. That stuff is everywhere. It's just people selling you courses is basically what it is. Yeah. They're all grifters and scam artists.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm just, I'm hunkering down. I'm going to write the next 2 consecutively and then figure out what to do. I'm learning I should not have done the self-publishing because the literary agents, they don't like it when you self-publish, but because it's a book series and because I only published the part 1 and I have gotten good feedback, I might be able to get a literary agent possibly afterward, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'll just see how I do. I mean, like I said, I think
I know, but see, there's the whole death trap. That's the whole death trap. It's don't self-publish. You have to go through us. Yeah. Well, then when you go through them and you spend a year chasing them down, and then you could have sold 1,000 books self-publishing to try to fund yourself to eat while you're working on the next one.
Right.
Then all of a sudden they go, well, it's like they send you into these traps.
Yeah.
And the real trap is if you're not part of their club, they're not going to help you anyway.
I'm not part of the club for sure.
No, I know. Well, that's the vast majority of us aren't part of the club. I mean, it's crazy, but or you know what? You just pack it in. You come to the old homestead. And I'm going to teach you how to butcher rabbits.
I don't know if I'll do that, but you know what? I'll learn how to can, and I'll open up a little general store, and everybody can trade their shit there. That's what I'm thinking. So I will come. So you build it, I will come.
No, I'm serious.
I'm totally serious. No, I'm serious. I've been looking at RVs for the last 3 years, ever since the 2020 thing happened. So I do know that that's sort of what I think I'm going to have to do. So anyway, we'll talk. Obviously,
I mean, look, it's honestly, and that's the thing. Like it's the RV, and then all of a sudden, well, where do I put it? And then you can look for raw land, you can find it,
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got to get a well, you've got to get a septic
Right.
tank, and that's why I'm like, I can resolve a lot of this. Look, if we had 1.2 million, there is a campground
Mm-hmm.
in this county. We become very good friends with the owners of it, and
Yeah.
they have, I think, 112 acres, and they've got 35 RV hookups.
Oh,
I think
man.
30 cabins, like 18 tent camping spots. Yeah, big playground, basketball
Yeah.
court. There's a river and a creek that runs through it. They've got their main house there. They've got a whole general store with a
Mm-hmm.
little restaurant. They sell
See, that's what I'm talking about.
West Virginia pizza. It's terrible,
We only need 1.2 million.
yeah, like people come from a 20-mile radius to buy the pizza. Yeah, no, and they had said to me, "Oh, why don't you just buy our campground?" Because they're getting older, and they're
Yeah.
like, and it's not a tourist area, so it services people that live within like an hour there. So it's like
Yeah.
a redneck resort, I call it.
Mm-hmm.
But all the people are great. The kids aren't walking around with iPhones. And I was like, "Well, what do you want for this thing?" And they're like 1.2. I'm like, "Well, we can't do that, but it generates, quite a
Yeah.
bit per year." And I was like, I'd have to go start looking for like actual investors and things. And if this was 10, 15 years ago in my life, I would have did that. But at 42, it's like, it's weird. I don't have as much
Yeah.
energy to run around and try to find investors and anymore. And the next thing you know, they get control of it, and it's not what you
Yeah.
wanted to do.
I wish that I was close. I have cousins that have plenty of money, but I don't talk to them or anything. Boy, they would, if I could just get them to invest. I don't know. There's got to be a way. We'll figure it out. You'll figure it
Talk to your cousins. Get the one. Well, we don't need anywhere near 1.2 to do this other we'll secure this. We should know around November 10th. If it works out, we're gonna secure that, and then we've got the land, and we're kind of off and running. The 300 would have been nice, but unfortunately, it just didn't work. But 72 acres is still pretty damn good. To start with. Yeah, and there's actually more cleared pasture on this one, so it's good for the gardens and to put in, the flat land for RVs or cabins or whatever. And then, it's just finding people that are looking for a bug out, or one of the things, I'm working on too. I would never push it through Airbnb, but if it was people that wanted to go out to something like this, let's say for a week with their family, to kind of see the homestead life and learn how to butcher, and like that's eventually part of it later. Like I said, I'm going to come up with revenue streams that allow me to just work on the land, because I want to go outside with Willie, my son, every day, put on the work boots and work the land. Like I do not want to be like, Dad's got to go on the computer to work on a website for the cat store, whatever it is. It's like he's already noticing, like, what are you doing on the computer? Like he can already tell.
Oh, it's so funny. Well, I'll have you on again, I'm sure, down the line, but and I know I'll talk to you soon. And
the next time you have me on, we better be beaming it out from your RV.
That's what I'm thinking.
New property.
We'll be together. We'll literally be together.
Chrissy, then we'll have then we'll have something to actually build a YouTube show off of, because we will definitely document all the homesteading stuff, and then you'll get to homestead and grow up with Willie, because he'll be part of the show.
Yeah, there we go. We Willie G and the RV.
Yeah.
The RV life, it'd be hilarious. Yep. But thank you so much
thanks, Chrissy,
for my show, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, I'll see you later. Have a great day. Thank you for having me on.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Kisses to Willie. All right, everyone. That was my friend Dustin. As you can see, he's a wealth of information. We do differ a little bit on our outlook of things, but I think it's important that I have people on that have all different kinds of points of view, so that you can listen. You do what you resonate with, and he. The thing with Dustin is, I've known him for probably 6 or 7 years now. Jeez, it's been a while, but I actually met him when I was on Twitter. Hello, we're talking about getting rid of social media and everything, but yeah, we were both on Twitter, and he was playing Trump guy, and so that's how I met him, and then we just became really good friends. He's sort of like my brother from another mother, and he's just very he's just very good at figuring out how to do shit and what the next step is and all that, and he dissects everything and researches everything. And so if he says that I know what he's trying to do with the community and like getting the land and stuff, so hopefully I'm sure I'll have him back on again to give us updates on everything that's going on. But I just kind of wanted to talk about a million different things. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the show, and I know we will be talking next week. I'm going to have Lady D, our Delphine, and Sarah Ashley. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to be on my channel or possibly on the Light Warrior Network. So we'll see. But the thumbnail is up at the moment, and we will keep you guys posted on that. And I do want to give a shout out to Delphine and Jason Bryan, Jason Ramirez, Sarah Ashley. Please, I will go and I will put their links in the description of this video, so you guys can make sure to subscribe to them. And I guess I'll see you hopefully next week sometime. So have a good day, everyone. I am out of here.